Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multi-family real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Greg Young again. Hey Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Barry. Sounds like you're energized. I love it, man.
It was the first interview they did that energized us. We just got done recording a first part of this, which was awesome. So if you haven't listened to that, please go back and listen to the previous episode where we talked about Greg's story about investing, being a realtor, even investing in Belize in a syndication, which is pretty cool in my book. I love that area. I love those islands. So I think I love that idea. But today we're going to do more of a deep dive into, he was part of writing a book, and the book covers habits, mindset, all that kind of good stuff. And he wrote a chapter in that, so we're going to dive into that. But before we dive into that again, you want to give people just who may not have heard that first interview a quick high level intro into who you are and what you've been up to.
Yeah, of course. So I'm originally from New York, born and raised, live here in Phoenix now. I'm a realtor and real estate investor. And, like we talked about on the past episode, my real estate investing kind of took me from single family to investing as a limited partner in multifamily. So, real estate investing is definitely a journey, and I'm enjoying the journey. I love it. It's great. So can't really complain at all at this point.
Very, 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 very cool. Well, to be part of a book, right? That's pretty cool. Right? To write a chapter, right, is pretty cool. I think that's a great achievement to say, hey, this is a book I wrote, right? Now, obviously, there was different authors or whatever, but even still, I think that's such a cool achievement. So congratulations on that, first and foremost. But
yeah, thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about the book for people who may have not listened to the other episodes.
Yeah, of course. So here's the book. It's Success Habits of Super Achievers. So as the title kind of mentions, it's basically everybody's talking about the habits that made them successful, in their career. And it's not only about success. There's actually a lot of stories that stem from, adversity. So that's where a lot of, real estate investing stories come from. Is you're down in the dumps, you lost all your money in the crash, and then now you're going to build yourself back up. So that's what I really like about the book. It's not just, hey, I was, born with a silver spoon or anything like that. Quite the contrary. A lot of the people in the book, did really face, alcoholic parents or, just tough situations as children or even young adults. So it's kind of great to hear everybody's story, because everybody's story is different in every different way, right? So really cool perspective that you get from, people that you may thought would have known, whether they're an author or a real estate investor. But once you read their story, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't really know that about that person, or I didn't know that they grew up in, in the projects or something like that. So it's really, it opens your eyes as well once you read these stories.
Yeah, and I think it's also, and it's also interesting to hear people's stories, because also you realize these people are human, right? They're not just these, like you said, these, super successful people that you can't relate to, or that you can't understand, that they just, like you said, had a silver spoon, or everything, life has been easy and everything's gone their way, right? Like you said, adversity is usually what drives people to be successful. There's a lot of times that, adversity in your life is what, spurs you on to want to be successful, right? There's something that causes that. And I think it's cool to hear people's stories and understand. And, you can learn from people's stories as well, right? That's how you really learn, from hearing their lives, the mistakes they make, or things that they've changed, or things that they've implemented. And I really think that's how you can really learn from real life stories.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe take us into your contribution to the book. Maybe talk about what your chapter is about.
Yeah, so my chapter, I basically wrote when I was moving from San Diego. I lived in San Diego after college. And when I was moving from San Diego to Phoenix, and, I basically I secured an apartment here in Phoenix, but I think I had $1,000 in my bank account when I moved. I was, 26 years old. So didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't want to move back to New York with my parents. So just decided to move to Phoenix with about $1,000 in my bank account. And that was it. I kind of started, my life, not over again, but, that was the first start of a foundation. So that's what I really wrote about in my book. And that was about half of the chapter. The other half was, the success habits and the morning routine that really kind of got my mindset and my personal development on the right track. Because for a long time, and probably even 3-4 years ago, I wasn't even in personal development. So I was probably just like everybody else, kind of just rolling along and not really giving myself the personal development and the time I should give myself in the mornings. So I really wrote about that, and the inspiration behind that was Hal Elrod in The Miracle Morning. So I wrote about that in my chapter too, that it took me 2 times. The first time I read his book, I was like, oh, this is great. I was pumped up, and I tried it and I was like, failed. It didn't work. For whatever reason, my mind wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready to wake up at 6 a.m. and really give myself all that time. But I said, you know what? Everybody else is doing this. I know I can be successful doing this Miracle Morning routine. So I read the book again, gave it another shot. And that's exactly what I wrote about in my book, and how it changed my life and my business, my personal life. Since 2020, I've dropped about 45 pounds. So it works on many different levels, but that's basically what I wrote about in my chapter, and we can kind of go anywhere you want from there.
Yeah, well, I think the routine thing of the routine aspect of things is very interesting. Why do you think a routine is so people? Because people know that about a routine, and I should probably have a routine, blah blah blah. But why do you think it is so important?
Yeah, I think it's so important just because for me, I kind of realized it made me very introspective, personal development and mindset. And I think I realized that for some reason, and I don't even know the reason really, but sometimes I just get lazy and I'm just like, oh, I know I should be drinking 8 glasses of water, but I don't want to, or I'm just not going to do it. And then I just kind of got over that fear of, not even a fear of anything really, just knowing you should do something, then just do it. If I know it's going to make me, healthier or smarter or a better person or more compassionate or whatever that's going to be, I kind of switched that gear a little bit of, well, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the results. And if I know drinking 8 glasses of water a day or reading a book is going to help me get those results, then I should be results driven, not do I want to drink this water or read the book. So that's kind of what really helped me. The Miracle Morning really helped me see that was, if you want the results, you got to do the work. You might not like doing the work, but the results are going to be fantastic. So do it and you're going to like it. And I just tried it. And after a while, I was like, oh, I actually see the positive results. And, it just felt great, seeing those results. And then that's why I kept doing what I was doing. And that's the whole point of the routine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're creatures of habit, right? Once we create those habits, once we create those routine, we kind of stick to them, good or bad, right? You're going to have some kind of routine. You get up late, you don't eat, then you eat unhealthy during the day, and then you come home and you don't feel good, and then you just lay around. That's a habit. That's a routine in itself, right? Mm-hmm. Or you can try and create something different, right? The challenge is, I think, with anyone, with any routine, is that initial phase, right? Because what did they say? It takes 15 days or something like that. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard it said that it takes 15 days of continuous action, of continuous setting this routine to actually, for it to become a habit, for it to become a routine. Now, maybe more, maybe less for some people, right? But that's what they say, just to give people an idea. How did you start that routine? How did you flip the switch? Because like you said, you tried it once, and then the second time you read the book, that's when you were able to implement it. How did you start, and how did you make that part of your life?
Yeah, so for me, I like to write everything down because, like when you write goals down and everything, it just kind of makes it more, concrete. So I just went to an Excel spreadsheet. I literally created a spreadsheet of, hey, what do I want to do every week, every day is, read a chapter. That's literally one of my things. And I just check it. Monday, I read a chapter. Tuesday, I read a chapter. I don't do it every day, but I try to, that's my goal, is to do it every day. Sometimes things come up or, things happen, life happens. But for me, I just got very organized. I created a spreadsheet. I print it out every week. I do the same thing for my wife, who has her own, set of goals. So we just kind of go over them and, we review the goals. I review them, every week myself. And then me and my wife, we talk about them every month. And I think that's really important, just to see, if you're staying on top of your goals, because it is really easy to create goals. You get excited. You're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work out every day. And then if nobody's there to hold you accountable and you're holding yourself accountable, it can be really hard, because you can give yourself a lot of leeway of like, well, I just, I worked out really hard this Wednesday and Thursday, so I'm going to go eat a burger and fries. Well, that's not on my goal list. I shouldn't be eating a burger and fries, right? So you can really let yourself slip. But if somebody else is kind of holding you accountable and say, hey, well, I know you worked out those 2 days, but did you really need those burgers and fries? Like, I need somebody to really kind of challenge you and question you a little bit more. And that's kind of the system that, we have set up, and it's been great.
Yeah, and I think you bring up such a good point there. Accountability is huge, right? Because it's easy, we all a lot of us have self-discipline, but sometimes that can fall by the wayside for whatever reason. If you have someone, excuse me, if you have someone that's there to say, hey, did you read your chapter today? Did you drink your 8 glasses of water? Did you exercise? Did you do what you were supposed to do as to be a part of a routine? And if you have someone just to hold you accountable, as simple as that, I think that makes a big difference. But starting out to a lot of people, it might seem overwhelming, right? Hey, yeah, I want to, I like the idea of starting some kind of morning routine, building some kind of habit, to help me with my success, to help me with my life, to make me feel better. But where do you start, right? Because it's like, okay, I want to work out. I want to read a chapter of a book. I want to drink 8 glasses of water. I want to eat a healthy breakfast. I want to meditate. I want to do yoga. Starting out, it could seem quite intimidating, I'm sure. Do you have any suggestions that help out how to people to start, how to figure out where they should start?
Yeah, so the great question. And the way I would do it is, basically write everything down, write all your goals down that you want to do, right? You want to work out every day, you want to eat healthy, you want to drink water. And then from those, I would probably pick the low hanging fruit, right? Just to kind of get things going, to get into the routine of, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and to feel the success of it, right? Because it is nice to kind of check that box of, yeah, I drank my 8 glasses of water today. Maybe I'll do 10 glasses of water because it's only 4 o'clock and I have, a couple hours left or whatever. So that's what I would do, is start small, recognize those small wins, and then really compound them, right? So once you have the 8 glasses of water, once you did that for maybe 15 days or a week, or, whatever you feel comfortable with, say, all right, I got the water thing down. What else I'm going to add to it? I'm going to add, eating yogurt every morning because yogurt's important to me and I feel like it's going to help my body or whatever. So then you got the water going, and then you check off the yogurt every day, and then you just kind of slowly build, and that kind of builds your confidence too, right? Of, hey, I got this. It might not take one day, it might take 7 days, but after 7 days, on that 8th day, I'm good. Let me add another, habit or challenge or whatever. And then all of a sudden you got 3 or 4 of them, you got 6 or 7 of them. And all of a sudden you're just checking off a lot of them, and you're like, wow, I'm crushing the day. And it just feels really good. So that would be my advice. Write them all down, start with the small ones, the low hanging fruit, and then just kind of compound over time.
And I think that's great advice, because obviously if you have all these goals and it's run 10 miles every morning, if you're not running at all now and that's your first goal, that's probably going to fall by the wayside pretty quickly. But if you said, like, if it's something that you can do every day that's quite comfortable, and you do that, you build your confidence. You also, it feels good, right? You build those endorphins when you start doing these things. It is really a snowball effect in a positive way, right? Because you feel good. You're like, oh, I did this, I did that, and you want to do more, and then you want to do the next one, and it just builds that self-confidence, builds that self-esteem, and you just can roll on from there. And I think it's such a good idea to start with something that is easy and comfortable for you to do, and then you can kind of roll in all those other things from there. Yeah, that's such a good point. Now, with habits and with routine, I think an important thing is, and I'm interested to see what you think, is to have a long-term goal with it, right? So many people think, okay, I want to do this in a month. And it comes back to the point that you make, is that just start slow. Because if you think that this is something you're going to do for the rest of your life, if you have that outlook for the next 10 years, it changes things, right? Too many people, do you think too many people have a short-term outlook when it comes to habits? And routine is like, hey, I want to be fit in a month. Hey, I want to do this in 6 weeks. Do you think that's a problem that people run into?
Yeah, definitely. And I've been guilty of that in the past as well. Because, speaking about like weight loss, I've been trying to lose weight. I've always been a bigger guy, chubby guy, not like obese or anything, but yeah, I've definitely had that mindset of like, yeah, give me a month and I can just turn this thing around and no problem. And, pills and, diet pills or whatever. I've tried a lot of those diets and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think definitely people are short-sighted when it comes to especially health, because, health is, you don't go to the gym twice and you come out and you're muscle bound and you're ready for the WWE, right? Like, it's not the way it works. So what I like to focus on with my goals is, when people set a goal, it's usually I want to lose 20 pounds, right? That's fine. That's a good goal. But I like to focus on the actual steps that are going to get you to that goal, because that goal is just a result, right? The 20-pound weight loss is the result, but the goal is, hey, I want to wake up every day. I want to drink my water. I want to work out 5 days a week. that should be the goal. And then the result is, that's just going to happen. The weight's going to fall off because you're, working out every day or 5 days a week and eating healthy. So once I kind of switched that mindset to my goal is actually the actions, not the result. The result will come from the actions. That really helped me as well, because it was literally just, all right, do the things, check off the checklist, and then the results will be there. And you can relate that to anything, with whether it's a relationship, losing weight, real estate investing. It's all the same thing. It's focus on the actions. If you're going to make 100 calls every day, that should be your goal, not to make 2 sales that day, because the sales will come from those 100 calls or whatever your numbers are. So that's something that, I really picked up along my journey and really helped me accelerate that journey quite a bit.
I love that point. And I don't think it's, necessarily talked about enough, because we all talk about goals, right? So what is your goal? Make 100,000 a year. Okay. But what does that entail? How do you you want to make 100,000 a year? Okay, cool. You have that North Star that you're following, right? You have something to, you have a roadmap, right? But how do you get there? And like you said, it's the action, right? You really need to break it down and understand the actions that it takes. So if are you trying to buy an apartment complex? Okay, well, how many units is that? Okay, it's 50 units. Okay, how are you going to buy that? Okay, you need to make 10 calls to brokers a week. You need to analyze 20 deals. You need to make offers on 3 or 4 a week. You really need to break it down into what it takes and focus less on what the goal is. Know what the goal is, which is the ultimate goal, but break it down into those pieces, because those pieces is what's going to get you to that goal. And I think that's such a brilliant point. And I hope a lot of people took note of that. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Before we wrap this up, anything else in the book or about habits and rituals and creating that lifestyle that we didn't cover that we should talk about, or did we get into most of it?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, habits are, at least for me, they're not very sexy. When people talk about habits, they don't really, it's not like glamorized of like, oh, you have the greatest habits in the world. That's amazing. I feel like people think of routine and habits of like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. So I don't know. It's just a different mindset. And, when people ask about, the weight loss or whatever, I tell people, yeah, it was diet and exercise, of course, but, I've tried that before in the past, and yeah, it kind of works, but I was ready for it this time. I chose to, it's either do or die, right? There's either I'm going to hit my goal. There's no like, well, I'm going to try to diet. I'm going to try to lose weight. It's no, I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I'm going to do all these habits. It might not be fun every day, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I feel good. I checked everything off. So yeah, it's not sexy, but the results are sexy. The results feel great. And, you can literally change your body, change your mind, and change your life with habits and routines. So I love it.
So true. So literally, that's the thing. It can literally change your life for the better if you incorporate good habits. So something that all of us should take note, and they should go out, check out the book, check out your chapter. Where can people find the book?
Yeah, so the book's on Amazon. Again, it's the Success Habits of Superachievers. And I was going to say, for your audience, if they want to email me and just ask me for my chapter, I will gladly send them the PDF version of my chapter, just to get to know a little bit more about myself and kind of how the book was structured. So if they want to do that, they can just email me at Greg, Greg at 7figurecapital.com. So real easy. Just mention that I was that you heard me on your podcast, and I'll send you that chapter and anything to do to help out your listeners.
Fantastic. Well, Greg, thank you so much for being on the show. Have an awesome rest of your day out there in Phoenix. Try and stay cool. Try and stay cool, man.
Thanks, Barry. I appreciate it. I had a blast.
Thank you. Me too.